Cool, yeah. Okay, so VIR, what was this called? Grand West. So it's humongous. So I'm gonna go at a faster pace, more like we did last week. What I want you to do is if you have a question about a corner, please ask it like right after the corner. So that way, because if you ask two corners later, I don't know any of the names, so other than Oak Tree. So I won't be able to help. So yeah, let's start with turn number one. We want to start braking right about where the car is now. So I brake about halfway in between 2 and 3, a little closer to 2. You should be in 5th gear, and you're going to brake all the way down to 1st gear. And it's going to take a while. So we're coming down, we're getting to about 1st gear. And then once the car's slow enough, you want to start your turn in, and the car may even start to slide a little bit. And you want to let off the gas and off the brake, maybe brush it if you need to get it to rotate. And once you get the car to about where it is now, and you're not sliding anymore, and you feel it hook up again, then go ahead and feed in throttle and leave the corner. So that corner is really about just turning the car with all the grip that you can. Sometimes you do it well, sometimes you don't. And I do think this is actually NASCAR corner that we're coming up to. You want to be about halfway out on the track. You'll be up to 4th, and probably about here, in a pretty straight line, you want to brake down to 3rd gear. And then the turn in is deceptively early. So if you've been turning in later, you've probably been missing the apex. You want to turn in fairly early to brush up against the curb and get back on the gas in 3rd and get thrown out. And then right in front of me, you can see there's some brake marks. These are the same ones I used last season. I use these brake marks as my braking marker. Once I hit these, I'm braking from 3rd back down to 1st. And here I'm going to completely compromise this corner and turn in about like so. So that I'm setting up for what is essentially a long straight. So you want the car almost parallel here. You want to really compromise. And then you just want to go from 1st, roll over the curb, you're getting up to 2nd, and then right about here you're probably getting up to 3rd, and right about here you're turning in and you're staring down your apex.
This whole section you're not lifting?
I lift probably about here, depending on how slow or fast I came through. Generally, what I do is I do a lift shift from 2nd to 3rd while rotating the car. So that way I get two birds with one stone. I get the gear changed and let off just a little bit. But really, this corner is going to come down to your vision. If you don't look for the apex further back than we are now, you're going to have a hard time with it. You want your eyes up the track and looking at the apex. And so you should be in 3rd by now. You bled what speed you need to make it. Run over the curb. And you'll get thrown out and maybe even get a little bit of dirt over here. That's just fine. Go ahead and do it. And then from here on out, this is basically a long straightaway. So your exit speed is really important from that corner. So no braking up to this point, and I'm in 5th gear. And probably about here, maybe a little past here, I'm going to brake just a hair and put the car into 4th and really let the engine braking do the rest after then. I'm going to start my turn in while trail braking, and the back end's just going to rotate. And then my goal is to get up on this curb, and probably right about here, I'm able to get back on the gas in 4th gear. and that's going to take me out onto the curbing, which I'm going to ride, and when you hit the curbing, you got to have the wheel straight. If you don't, you're going to go into the wall to my left. If you haven't done it yet, you're either a perfect driver or you've not been trying hard enough. You want to try hard enough at this corner that sometimes you hit the grass and you go in the wall and you learn, like, oh yeah, that was too far. And then just keep the car in fourth all the way down the hill. And we're setting up for what is essentially a double apex. So right about here, there's the 2 marker, and the grade changes from going uphill to not uphill as fast, almost flat. I start braking right before the grade change, and I'm braking from 4th to 3rd, and I kind of point the car about like it is right now when I do the gear change. If you do the gear change with too much steering input, you're going to slide out. And so I get the gear change done to 3rd, probably about here. I'm gear changing to 2nd. And through this whole section, I have a little bit of brake at all times, just trying to help the rear end rotate. And then right about here, I like to get to 1st. And when the car's at this point on the track, I'm staring at the apex to get out of here. And I'm just thinking, when can I get on it? When can I get on it? When can I get on it? And you can cut a decent amount here. I wouldn't aim to cut any more than I am now. But on a good lap, I'm probably on the throttle right here. In 1st gear, it's going to throw me out, and I'll ride the curbing over here and get back on the track. So right about this point, in between the 4 and the 3, I'm going to start. I'm going to start braking from 5th gear down to 2nd, and I'm going to do that at kind of this angle here. And the one thing I've noticed that really affects this corner is the grade change. So on the straightaway, the road's just kind of flat and straight. But the moment we go off into the infield section, the grade changes significantly. So you want to pay attention to that, and you want to kind of turn into the grade change here. You can kind of see the markings in the pavement. So you turn into the grade change, and then probably about here, I shift down to 1st, and then I rotate in and get on the gas and swing out. This next corner is a blind corner. So for blind corners, I personally always want 2 references. I want a braking reference and a turn-in reference. My braking reference is just the bottom of this little hill. So right when I'm about to start going uphill, I'm going to start my braking. And I'm going to brake, I think, down to 2nd. And at the 1 marker that I just passed, I go just past the 1 marker, and I start my turn in. And if I do it right, I'm going to be on the curbing here, looking down the track. It's very important, while you've got to look for the curbing so that you hit it, the moment you see it, you need to look down the track. And that'll allow you to get on the throttle a little earlier and carry that down this hill. Now this corner doesn't matter. It's a corner between corners, so compromise it however you have to, because what really matters is this next corner. And so right about here, I'm back on the brakes, maybe even before here, and I'm shifting down to 1st gear, and I'm making sure that I hug the inside all the way through. I think the grade kind of forces that. I'm not getting on the curbing for this corner. And then probably about here, I'm back to full throttle in 1st gear. So for this corner, I was hitting the curb on the right here, and I stopped. I'm not sure if I'm going to end up hitting it or not. But I just kind of brush it, and my whole focus here is just to worry about the next corner. Because what I want to do is, even though I can't see it, kind of use the other curb to aim and run over this corner and get back for this little S's section.
Are you braking at all at those corners?
I brake at the top of the hill, and then thereafter it's gas only. And it kind of depends on, you know, how I did judging the blind apex. If I did a good job, then there's lots of gas and very little braking, very little lifting. If I did a bad job, I've kind of got to lift to get myself back on the racing line. And then for this next section right here, if I have any good speed, I pretty much always have to lift to get the car to rotate.
Any gear change coming down that?
No, I think I take this whole section in third. So I get up to third, coming down the mini straight, and then I'm third all the way through here, and I'm not going to shift into fourth until the 2 corners from now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so through this whole section, it's about looking ahead and lifting and getting back on the throttle as appropriate. You just use the off throttle oversteer to kind of get some rotation. This corner, I found you can come out. I wouldn't probably go as far as I just did, but you can swing out a good bit. I think the grade here and the curbing, if you get on this curbing, it'll actually load up the left side of the car and help you make this turn. So if you get up on the curbing, it'll kind of help you get the car around this turn. And so by right about here, I should be up into 4th gear. And then I'll be in 4th gear up until what I know is turn 14 up here. And so a little earlier than you think, when the car's right here, you can see the white line on the left side of the road, and you can see where it bends, kind of disappears. You actually want to aim a little to the left of that, because that's where the curb is. If you don't, you're not going to hit the apex. So you want to be able to hit this curb up here. And to do so, when you're coming up, if you're fast enough, you probably got to lift and get back on the gas, and lift and get on the gas. But your goal through these 2 corners is just to maintain as high a speed you can, but hit both of these curbs. And then you'll be in 4th and the car throws you out. And so probably about here, I'm in 4th. I'm going to brake to 2nd in a straight line. And I've actually found I was cheating and going inside, and I actually think it's faster to stay in a straight line and then kind of cut across the grade into the apex here in 2nd gear, hitting the curb and then getting thrown out. And it's kind of a late corner to get back on the gas. You just want to kind of carry the momentum you have. And then for the super fun corner, this one I've gone from 2nd and I'm back up to 4th. And I'm going to turn in, and right about here I'm going to let off the gas, which will get the tail end to rotate, because our goal is to get over this curbing but have the car pointed kind of like it is now. And after you get through it, you really need the wheel straight, because you've got to quickly go to brake and brake down to 3rd gear. And then with all that momentum, you turn the wheel, and it causes and you're holding a little bit of brake. That's going to cause the rear to start to slide. And right as it slides, you can see all the black oil, or whatever you want to call it, in front of us, the black markings on the road. And that's really your exit. So once you get the car to rotate to enough, that you're certain you can make that, then just slam on the gas. And that's usually for me probably about here. I'm going to slam on the gas. And another thing to pick up that I didn't pick up on last time we were here, but there's another grade change that means staying closer to this, even if it means losing a little bit of initial speed, just seems to be faster. So I may let off the throttle a little bit to make sure I don't run too wide and have to lose too much speed due to steering wheel scrub. So any questions? Do you guys want to?
Ridiculously long.
Yeah. Do you guys want to sit through 6 minutes of me driving around? I'll do a hot lap, but just curious.
Hey Justin,
I'd like to see that airfield at speed.
Okay, yeah. I'll be at speed by then.
Are you doing anything different with your setup? Using a high SPO, like a 0 or a 1 or something?
Yeah, I'm still experimenting with the SPO because I want it as low as possible, or as high as possible, whichever way. I want the car as low as possible, but you do bottom out in some places. So right now I'm at a 3. I may end up at a 0. I don't know. The main thing is if your front wing gets bent, go look at your replay. Why did it get bent? If it was doing something you're going to do all the time, right? Raise the car up. The other thing is listen. If you hear the car bottom out at some part of the track that you want to use, you can also try raising the car up. So you just do those until you find what works for your line. I'm certain at this track you could raise the car probably as high as it goes, and some corners are going to be better, and then some corners are going to be slower. So it's really all about your driving style and which lines you end up taking.
I think I used a 2. That's about my best.
If your front wing's coming home okay, you're probably good.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, you guys are welcome.
Justin.
I just said my best lap, so maybe talking it out helped.
Awesome.
That's what we're here for.
You're my coding bear. If anyone here is a pro